welcome to the NDTV Auto Show. I'm your host Mugdha Mishra. We have an exciting show for you today. Let's take a look. Lamborghini Revuelto, driven in Italy. We test ride the Ducati Diavel V4. Review of the new BMW 5 Series. What are BMW's India plans? We speak to Jean-Philippe Parain. Electrification is the future of auto world, and most companies are trying to electrify their product portfolio. But when it comes to supercars, the challenges are aplenty. You need to deliver performance with the feel of a supercar. Lamborghini some time back launched their hybrid Revuelto, and it is definitely a technological marvel. I got to drive it in Italy. Let's take a look. I am at Sant'Agata, Italy, and it is the birthplace of Lamborghini. And I'm here to drive Lamborghini's latest engineering marvel, Revuelto. Revuelto is special because it is hybrid. And while Lamborghini has experimented with hybrids earlier, this is their first mass production hybrid car. Well, mass production by Lamborghini standards. So I'm going to drive it around today, around Sant'Agata, and tell you more about it. Lamborghini's latest marvel, the Revuelto, is a testament to brand's iconic design ethos and cutting-edge technology. It encapsulates the quintessential Lamborghini aesthetics, a blend of insanity and purpose-driven design. The front is sharper than a razor, adorned with Y-shaped DRLs and taillights that capture attention instantly. Large air vents are strategically placed around the car, ensuring optimal airflow and cooling. The crisp creases give the impression of having been meticulously sculpted by a designer wielding extremely sharp scissors. It is Lambo's flagship. The scissor doors give that away. In all, Lamborghini Revuelto is equal part menacing and eye-catching. Inside, Revuelto gets 3 screens, 12.3-inch driver display, an 8.4-inch central screen, and a slim-line 9.1-inch touchscreen for the passenger based on what Lamborghini calls pilot interaction DNA. Cabin now has a bit more practicality with features like cup and wallet holders, but it still remains a true sports car cabin. The magic really is the engine and motor combination. For this flagship Revuelto, Lamborghini is continuing with its V12. The 6.5-litre V12 is placed longitudinally like in Countach, Diablo or Aventador, but it's rotated 180 degrees and is paired with a new 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, mounted transversely. This has been done to free up the space where the transmission tunnel used to be. This space now houses a 3.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery which feeds 210 kilowatt motors on the front axle. There's also a third electric motor mounted above the gearbox. Can you hear how quiet it is? Well, that's because I am in pure electric mode called Chitta. But it does not remain so quiet for long. It does around 10 kilometers in pure EV mode. Just enough for you to quietly exit your farmhouse without waking up the neighborhood. Now the battery has drained and the V12 has started. Right now, the car still is in EV mode, but the engine has started only to charge the battery. And that's a little disconcerting because it feels a little disconnected. You're not at the same speed, but the engine is revving at a different speed and it sounds different. Then there's Strata mode, good for slightly relaxed driving, focusing on smooth power and drive comfort. And I am in no mood to stay in Strata for long. Let's shift to sports. It feels absolutely bonkers. Can you hear that noise? So much joy. Sant'Agata is surrounded by rural area, and the roads here are very similar to Indian roads. Yes, they are nice and winding roads, but they are also not very well paved. So it is as close to Indian roads as you can imagine. And I must say this car has handled these roads perfectly. Revuelto's handling on these roads left me impressed. For a sport car, it takes on bad patches very well. It also gets a lift function, so you can lift the car up by a few millimeters if you are unsure of the road ahead. What music! Well, we are on public road, so can't test the capability of this car to its full potential, but it feels really quick. But to say it is quick is stating the obvious. It is quick, but the power is served linearly, and that's a little surprising because Lamborghinis are known to be mad machines. This feels more of a tameable bull than the raging bull something like an Aventador felt like. There is a Corsa mode too, which as the name suggests is for the race course. With the extra motors and batteries, the Revuelto is a heavy car, almost 200 kgs heavier than Huracan. But when you are driving it on these winding roads, you cannot feel its weight at all. It feels light and nimble. This control that you have on this car is just phenomenal. The electric power assisted steering coupled with the rear steering, which turns the rear wheels up to 5 degrees for low speed maneuvers and up to 0.5 degrees during high speeds, gives you absolute control and connect with the car. You feel so much in control of this mad machine. I have been grinning from ear to ear all this while. Well, this is what the future holds for Lamborghini. They have decided to go full hybrid on all their products. But this probably is the example of the best marriage between internal combustion and that dreaded EV. From one made in Italy to another, but this time on two wheels, King Shukdatta gets you the review of Ducati X Diavel.
The Ducati Diavel V4 is truly the devil's ride. Yes, if the devil did exist, this is what his motorcycle would be, and that's what we are riding today. The Diavel V4 is built around an aluminium monocoque chassis, which makes the motorcycle 13 kg lighter than the 1260. The bike now gets a V4 Gran Turismo engine, which makes a massive 166 brake horsepower and a monstrous 126 Newton meters of peak torque. The engine is easily the best thing about the motorcycle. So the Ducati Diavel V4 is a paradox because the motorcycle becomes much easier to manage out in the real world. At the same time, it manages to keep the essence alive of the older Diavels. When you start riding the bike, particularly in the urban or the wet mode, the motorcycle feels much calmer. You don't have to hang on to the handlebars for dear life. And yes, the fueling at low speeds is smoother than you would imagine. But the moment you choose the sport mode and twist the throttle, the front wheel threatens to point skywards and the motorcycle becomes a really violent, mind-bending machine. There's enough shove of torque all across the rev range, and the Ducati won't let up unless you do. So if you find an open, empty stretch of road, you'll be hard pressed to keep the speed within limits because you just wouldn't feel like doing so. The rear bank of cylinders deactivates when the motorcycle is idling and even when there's no heavy lifting to do. But at the same time, if you're riding the bike in traffic, the engine heat will get to you, particularly in hot Indian summers. So the motorcycle loses 13 kg over the 1260 and it becomes much easier to throw around a corner. Yes, the rake and trail becomes sharper than before,
and the fat 240 section tire at the rear, while it offers immense grip, it also makes life difficult when you want to make quick direction changes. Overall, the handling of this motorcycle is much sharper, much more agile than before.
Now the Diavel V4 is definitely not meant for the Indian traffic and less than perfect Indian roads. But Ducati has managed to tune the suspension well enough to handle regular undulations. The ground clearance will manage most speed breakers without a hassle, but sharp-edged bumps need to be negotiated carefully. Needless to say, the Diavel V4 looks like $1,000,000 with its hulked-out stance and a muscular silhouette. We absolutely love the way the motorcycle looks, and barring an odd one or two bikes, the Diavel V4 is easily in a league of its own. The single-sided swing arm along with the quad exhaust tips are the standout features. In terms of features, the Diavel V4 gets a 5-inch TFT screen along with a bunch of riding modes with further customization of wheelie control, engine brake control, ABS and so on. All of this goodness comes in at a price of 25,91,000 rupees, which means you need to have deep pockets. But buying the Diavel is an emotional decision. Always has been, always will be.
Welcome back. You're watching the NDTV Auto Show. I'm driving the Mercedes EQA today, and its review is already up on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe it. We will also get you a proper range test for this car. So do press that bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a video. BMW recently launched its 5 Series, which is going to compete directly with Mercedes E-Class and Audi A6. How does it fare? King Shukdatta tells you.
Now BMW has sold over 10 million units of the 5 Series since its launch in 1972, and in 2024 we now have the 8th generation of the 5 Series in the long wheelbase guise. Yes, for the first time ever, the 5 Series in its long wheelbase format arrives in India only after the Chinese market. So, are you ready to soak into the luxury that the 5 Series long wheelbase has to offer?
Now, the 5 Series long wheelbase looks big, bold and has a solid presence, but it does miss out on some of the athletic, agile stance which the previous models had. The car now looks like a proper executive sedan. The 18-inch alloys don't do justice to it. There is a pronounced gap between the rubber and the wheel arch, and that takes away from the sporty flair that the other models had. But we believe there will be an option to upgrade to 19-inch wheels. But the bigger dimensions of the car do not take away from the fact that it is a good-looking machine and has a proportionate design, be it the front or rear. The M Sport package adds a nice sense of sportiness to the overall look and feel of the car. It only makes sense to begin our review with the extra wheelbase and extra space inside the cabin. The wheelbase on this model grows by 130mm to 3105mm compared to the regular 5 Series. The length and width also grow by 212mm and 32mm, while the height grows by 41mm.
With the extra wheelbase and length, the 5 Series long wheelbase becomes the biggest car in its segment, trumping not only the current gen Mercedes E-Class long wheelbase but also the next gen E-Class long wheelbase, which will be launched globally later this year. And as you can see, acres of space inside, massive amounts of knee room and enough space for your feet to slide in under the seat in front of you. And the seat itself, after a long hard day at work, you just want to sink in to these sumptuous vegan leather seats. So like we said, the rear seat of the 5 Series long wheelbase is really comfortable, but there are a few oddities inside the cabin. To begin with, the rear seat doesn't get a recline function. Yes, it's not there. Now BMW says that the 31-degree incline angle of the rear seat is near perfect, and the cushioning of the seat is very thick. So they haven't given the recline feature on purpose But you should know that the current generation E-Class long wheelbase, it gets that feature, and even the previous generation 5 Series had that feature. Apart from that, you also don't get blinds for the rear window and the rear windscreen, which in my books is a serious miss because you need that privacy, you need that protection from harsh sun, and this is something that even cars 2 segments below get that feature. The previous generation 5 Series had that feature, so I really can't figure out why the current gen, this model, gives a miss to the blinds. Apart from that, there's another oddity right here, which is the fixed glass pane sunroof. Yes, so there is a sunroof, there's a massive panoramic sunroof, but it doesn't open up. And in my books, it's perfectly fine because the opening sunroof, it creates a safety risk, a safety hazard.
Now we spoke to BMW and the company said that there will be a provision for getting the blinds fitted onto the rear windows at the time of delivery for customers. The other miss is the fact that there is no boss seat function. So there's no electric adjustment to move the front passenger seat forward from the rear seat. One has to do it manually from the front seat itself. It is definitely a feature that a potential 5 Series customer would want in his car. Now the dashboard too has been redone, making it minimal and pleasing to the eye. For example, the AC vents are hidden but are effective nonetheless. There's a 14.9-inch touchscreen with the BMW iDrive 8.5 UI, which can feel a bit too cluttered. The interaction bar is similar to the one on the 7 Series and can be used to control the AC and ambient lighting. The center console is redesigned as well and houses controls for various functions. You will see BMW has used crystal bits inside the cabin, particularly on the gear selector, for that premium touch. The other highlight is that the sedan uses vegan leather upholstery, with regular leather being an option as well. You also get 3 wireless phone chargers, 6 USB Type-C ports, ventilated front seats, and a 4-zone climate control. There's a nice ADAS setup as well, with features like collision warning, lane keep assist, braking assist, parking assist, but misses out on adaptive cruise control. For all the audiophiles, the 18-speaker Bowers & Wilkins system works brilliantly and will keep you wanting for more. The new 5 Series long wheelbase gets a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine that makes 255 brake horsepower between 4500 to 6500 rpm, and the peak torque output of 400 Newton meters comes in between 1600 to 4600 rpm. The engine is paired to an 8-speed Steptronic transmission. The claimed fuel efficiency is pegged at 14 km to the litre. We suspect the real-world efficiency to be at 11 km per litre.
And there's this nice shove of torque across the rev range, which keeps you happy and engaged. But I couldn't help but get this feeling that this is meant more to be a chauffeur's car, where the owner of the car sits behind in the boss seat. And yes, it is a nice, fun, engaging car to drive, there's no doubt about that. But yes, it doesn't have that driver-centric intent as the older 5 Series had. So in that case, definitely I miss the old 5 Series. But no doubt, if you really want to go fast, if you want to push the pedal to the metal, then it will go fast and it will keep you happy and engaged all along the ride.
The top speed is electronically limited to 250 km per hour, and the 0 to 100 km per hour sprint is done in less than 7 seconds.
So for the most part, the ride quality on the BMW 5 Series is quite plush. Yes, the occupants inside the car will hardly feel the bumps and undulations on the road, and I suspect it has something to do with the retuned suspension and the tires with thicker sidewalls. And if we were to talk about the handling ability of the new 5 Series, well, despite the increase in dimensions of the car, around a corner the new 5 Series holds its line and shape if you give it the beans. And the feedback from the steering is quite nice. It is nice and chunky to hold, very grippy. So if you were to, take this car around the corner at substantially higher speeds, you will enjoy it. But if you want to make quick lane changes or quick direction changes, that's when you feel the length of the car. The BMW 5 Series long wheelbase is priced at 72,90,000 rupees ex-showroom, which is very aggressive pricing because its chief rival, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class long wheelbase, its prices start at 76 lakh and go up to 89 lakh rupees. And then you also have the other rival in the form of the Audi A6.
The day BMW launched the 5 Series, they also launched the Mini Cooper S, Mini Countryman Electric and India's most expensive scooter CEO4. BMW is actually quite positive on India. I sat down with the management to know their India plans. BMW Group is really excited about Indian market. In one day, they have launched 4 new products, and to talk more about it, I have with me Mr. Jean-Philippe. Thank you so much for joining us today. The first question I have is, 4 new products, that's quite an aggressive strategy for India, and you have launched products for BMW 5 Series, then Mini and BMW Motor R as well. So how significant is Indian market for BMW?
Well, India is one of the fastest growing market for BMW. It's in the top 3 worldwide. Right. It's the fastest growing market for my region. I'm responsible for the Asia Pacific, Middle East, Eastern Europe and Africa region. And yes, India has clearly the strongest growth in this region. It was also the case last year. It's again the case in the first 6 months. BMW grew its sales with roughly 28% in the first half year. So I think it's a promising market. It can still grow, but it's growing in a very consistent way since now many years.
When we were speaking, you said 50% localization is what you have achieved. Do you intend to increase it? Do you intend to invest more in India?
We are looking at all possibilities because it's always related to the schemes that are announced by the government, and there are some very clear schemes that have been announced, and also our own business case. And the more the market grows, the better are the chances that we invest even more, because production follows market, and if the scale is big enough, then there is clearly a business case to come to produce even more here and to localize even more in India.
Your plant right now, which is in Chennai, what capacity does it work on?
It can sell much more than what we. It can produce, much more than what we currently sell. There's still a lot of capacity.
So then, does that not excite you to make it like an export hub? Or there are challenges to it?
There are many protection barriers sometimes when you produce somewhere else than in the market where you sell the cars. But we are always looking at this. Yes, that's always a part of our decision criteria. But at the moment, the plant has more capacity, but we have sized our teams to fulfill the Indian market. Again, it's growing every year, roughly 20% a year. And if this journey continues, then we will come at some point at the end of our capacity locally, but there's still some room.